Do it. I wanted to share about a prison visit I did last Wednesday. I put the prison part in quotes because, I mean, it is a prison. It's still got rolls of razor wire all the way around it. But technically it's not. It's a treatment facility for, I guess I would use the word inmates, who have finished their sentences but are still being held due to them possibly being a danger to themselves or society. Is that the right way of saying it? And they're in treatment there, in psychological, emotional, psychiatric treatment. So there's a range of people who live there. Even the chaplain pointed out that there's a building over here. These are the people who are completely hospitalized and, being observed and held with drug treatment. And then there's a series of facilities, so they move to less supervised, to a pretty freely open supervised units over here that look more like little condo buildings. They're kind of cute. And their wish when they have these guys, it's a men's facility, when they have these men here, is that they'll move them from one to the other. So it is a treatment facility. And according to the inmates, the residents, I think that they value the treatment, that they find it very, very valuable. But still, they're still in prison. And some of them have been serving sentences for 20, 25, 30 years. Some will never get out of there. One of the residents told me that he has known people in that particular facility who have re-offended on purpose so they can get back into prison. Because in some ways, there's a lot more to do when you're in prison than when you're in this treatment facility. So they're looking for ways to make their lives meaningful. There's a booming Dharma Buddhist study group in this facility, and it really is very supportive to the men who are there. So one of them had a vision. I don't know the story of how this came about, but he wanted a place, or thought that they should have a place where they could meditate together. And so he had this idea to build what they're calling a pagoda. They went through all the loops, and you can imagine the bureaucracy of getting something like this inside a prison is pretty huge. But they went through the application process, they persuaded all the right people, they got permission to build, basically it's like a 6-sided gazebo with half walls that they can use as a meditation space. They got permission to put it a little bit outside the yard so that it has some sense of privacy and separation. And the event that I was there for was to dedicate this, their pagoda. And it was a very, very exciting day for them. So there's a couple of parts that are worth sharing. One is that they pulled this off. That alone is incredible. That within the whole prison system, with the cooperation of their new chaplain and the cooperation of a new CEO, both of whom seem to me to be quite dedicated to the welfare and happiness of the guys under their care, helped to make this happen. And then, just to have the wherewithal to put the thing together and get it built, and the harmony that was required to make it happen. Towards the end, there were many sharings and Dharma talks throughout the day, and towards the end, one of the guys who was not a part of the Buddhist group but had wanted to volunteer because he thought it was an exciting project, came up and he said, "I have a joke for you." He said, "How many religions does it take to build a pagoda?" 5. Buddhist, Christian, Native American, atheist, and Wiccan. And he said, all of us worked together and we did it in harmony. And that is a sign of the harmony of this group and the symbol of harmony in the world. Beautiful sharing by this man. One of the things that was also very inspiring to me, and I think quite humbling, was the recognition of one particular person, the person who was the organizer behind this project, to hear how he had impacted the lives of the men in this prison. The topic of the day was loving kindness, metta, and both the guests, there were a few prison volunteers, Dharma volunteers were there, and then many of the men who were part of the group. So both the guests and the men were invited to give talks on the topic of loving kindness. So one of the first people to spring to his feet was a man who said right off, he said, I had never had much interest in Buddhism because I'd never seen an African-American Buddha. until I met him. And he pointed to the organizer. And he said, by watching him work, by seeing that this man reaches out to everybody who comes here, that he's concerned for their welfare, that he doesn't let himself be stopped if people are in a bad mood, he'll go right to them. And instead of just like doing this, which is what the smart thing to do when you're in prison, he'll actually go to them and say something that's kind and softening, and like he understands where they're coming from. That his mission is to be of benefit and open up the hearts of the people who come into this prison. So the guy said, I started trying these things myself. And he said there was one particular guy that I really didn't like, who was one of the people who served the food. And every day I would come through the line, coming through the line, and he'd slap the food on my bowl like this. And I would walk away angry for the whole meal. So I thought I would borrow from this guy here some of his methods, because I'd started to find out studying what he does. And so I would just, first in the beginning, I would just, food would come on my table and I would just say, thank you, and then go on. So I tried this for a while, going through the line, thank you. And then I thought, maybe I should say good morning to him. So I started going through the line saying, good morning, thank you. He said, and soon for me it became a game to try to, really see how it was to say, good morning, thank you. And then he said, slowly over time, the food was starting to be thrown less and less. And then he actually began to serve and say, how much do you want? Until he said, now we're pretty good buddies, me and this guy. He said, I want to tell you, this Buddhist stuff works. And he said, it's all because of the kindness of this man who first showed me that you could in prison have a kind heart and begin to have friends. So this was the first testimonial. This was not the purpose of this gathering, was not to give a testimonial to the leader here, who I'd love to name, but I'm not sure I can. But one by one, people stood up and said, oh yeah, it's him. It's his kindness. It's his openness. It's his invitation to come be a part of the group. And then as the people who were not a part of the Buddhist group began to also come up and say, well, working on this project was so great and everything was so harmonious and there was so much care among the people, and we could get into having different ideas about how to build this thing, but we worked it out and negotiated it together from the seeds of kindness from this one guy. It was amazing. The group had made an offer to the prison, which was also accepted, that it wouldn't, their creation, their pagoda, wouldn't just be for the Buddhists. So we're only going to use this, maybe some private meditation time, and our group only meets once or twice a week. So other groups who want a more private space, as long as they hold it as a sacred space, are welcome to use it as well. So this practice of generosity absolutely blew people away. It's like, well, it's not just a Buddhist thing. So through this ripple of one man's kindness, so much good has come in a place where, ringed with these huge things of razor wire, you wouldn't think there's much good in here. The other good thing is, among that Buddhist group, there is also a man who is a gardener. He's a flower gardener. He loves them. And he says, the flowers always smile at me. The flowers always say, I'm glad to see you. And he says that I can take that welcoming from my flowers and then bring it out to the people around me. So he too has found a way to be nurtured, to feel nurtured, and then to share that with the people in his environment. I was humbled. I would even say at some points a little bit ashamed. I thought, honey, your problems are like zero. You have no problems. The complaining mind that comes up, forget it. Forget it. Or the minor complaints about, nobody's throwing food on my plate, and that is actually not a big deal as far as prison goes, right? My problems are so small, and yet, can I have that same kind of effect? Do I have that same kind of intentional wish to reach out to everybody around me? When I see somebody in a bad mood, do I go, yes, I do. I'm not necessarily the one that's going forward to see if I can help and lend a hand. So I was quite inspired by meeting these men and being a part of their celebration. I don't want to whitewash what they've done, but the whole person is not the sum of that single act that put them in prison. And that's the most important thing to remember about all of us. No person is defined, formed by the mistakes that we make day to day. No person is defined by the personality defects that keep recurring day to day to day. But that we have, there's a whole being within us that also has the capacity to care for one another. I heard Venerable Tarpa say this morning that this particular guy, the ringleader, who was in the prison here near Spokane, so a number of us have known him, met him before he was transferred out there. The guys in the Spokane Dharma group think that he's really a bodhisattva who has his mission in the prison, because where else could a person with his background have the effect that he has, right? It's a nice thought. But to just bring to mind again and again the impact that one person's kindness can have in the environment and on the people around us. It's very inspiring. And so when we get in our own little petty minds about my practice isn't very useful, I'm not so important, I can't really help people, I don't know enough, that's just our self-centered thought grappling away at our mind. And that we do have the capacity, and our actions do have an effect. And we can be of benefit, and we can rejoice, definitely all of us, rejoice in the merit created by this activity of erecting inside a prison a stupa dedicated for people to be able to find their kind heart and to develop peace of mind. Because that takes huge merit to pull off. It's a hugely meritorious event, and we can rejoice in that and get some of the merit too.